Welcome back to the Soluna Archives, a world-building project exploring the events and people of Soluna. In this video, we will be exploring some of the earliest events in the timeline, including the creation of the monsters and what sets them apart from the other peoples of Soluna. Without further ado, let's dive straight in. We look back upon Soluna in its youngest form. The first day and night had barely passed. Towering fungi dominated the land, instead of the grand forests that would define the ages to come. Zalios had given his first son, Ambroi, the task of preparing the Ori and the Nox to inherit the new world. They were made immortal, curious in spirit and free in will. If directed accordingly, the future would surely be gracious and bright. Over thousands of years, Ambroi taught the young people, correcting their mistakes and encouraging them to organize into communities, plant crops, and even helped develop the first writing systems. But the people advanced slowly. It took centuries to teach them things that seemed obvious to Ambroi. So often he would have to condescend to a level he found insulting, just to explain questions as basic as, what are stars, or what are the metaphysical properties of the film? Ambroi came to hate this age of instruction. He thought to himself, why should I be responsible for children who would be little more than beasts without my presence? He doubted Zalios' plan, and was frustrated that the world would be left to creatures who needed to be taught in the first place. Ambroi sought to change the very nature of the Ori and Nox, using the power he had been given to govern their body and soul. Ambroi took a third of the people, twisting their films in the likeness of water. He hoped this would make them gentle, malleable, easier to persuade and teach. But the result was a people who had no control. They thrashed and cried, looking for anything to consume. He then took the next third and fashioned their souls in the form of stone. He hoped they would be stable, strong, and unchanging in the instruction he gave them. But the result was a people who cared not for anything. They proudly grumbled to themselves and did not move in their ways. Ambroi, growing tired of his ill fortune, fashioned the last third in the likeness of wind, in hopes that this creation would be harmless and not bothersome. In this he finally succeeded. These people drifted in the air, barely conscious, their wills waned to nothing. Ambroi then went to Zalios and said, Father, I have tried to repair the ignorance in your children, and elevate them to knowledge akin to mine. I molded their nature on your water, earth, and wind, but you have not given me sufficient power to do so properly. Zalios then reached his hand to the distorted people, entangling what he could until most were restored, but some were so matted and knotted that returning them to their original form was impossible. Instead, Zalios merged these souls into Soluna, creating the first monsters. It is finally time to talk about the monsters. We will resume the story of Soluna's first age in the next video, I promise. There is a set amount of monsters in the world, no more than Zalios first created. They don't reproduce. When one dies, the film goes into Soluna and comes up again as a new monster in the form of an egg, all memories lost to time. The location of this reincarnation is seemingly random. Monster search parties looking for eggs to take back home is a common sight all over Soluna. When a monster hatches, its form will be completely different from its previous life. In fact, it will be different from every other monster that has ever lived, with appearances ranging from insect-like to lizardly. This is because monsters have a very unstable nature, so unstable that they would be unable to exist if it wasn't for Zalios' gift, the fountain of higher inspiration. The water from this blessed spring calms the monster's more erratic tendencies, preventing them from becoming one of the lost, a creature most frightful indeed. Most monsters live in the underground city surrounding the fountain. This settlement has remained almost exactly the same throughout all of Soluna's history, due to the fact that the population does not grow, and because of the more isolationist attitude of the monsters. They don't want any reason to risk losing access to the one thing keeping them sane. However, if you were to be invited to fellowship in the underground, you would be met with a friendly and relaxed people. They're used to seeing strange faces after all. Before you knew it, you would be sipping on one of the famous well-water cocktails. The art of drink making is just as respected as music down here. Monsters take great pride in the fact that none of their kind has ever been involved in a war. That incident with Abigail, the only monster to ever become a twisted, doesn't really count. Sure, he was an unfriendly sort who led a small but radical followers to, well, that was a long time ago, and it doesn't do much good to dwell on dark things. Better to share a drink with a friend and play a light-hearted game of 7 stones, as the warm light of a fire shroom fills the room with a comforting air. Peace and mildness are the highest of the monster's values, even to a fault. But who can blame them? Their existence is a fragile strand. One wrong move could mean the collapse of everything they hold dear. Well, that is all for this one. Thank you so much for watching. In the next video, we will once again be following Ambroi in the early ages, and why the dragons came to Soluna. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, maybe even leave a comment. I love to hear what you all have to say. I'll see you all in the next Soluna Archive.